They have a combined 12 years in the National Football League. They combined for 65 career sacks, 232 tackles, 1 Pro Bowl selection, and 1 Employee of the Month award.
That's just a straight shooter with upper management written all over him.
It's Train and Grose on the All AZ Podcast Network.
Welcome in, Train and Grose, mid-July edition. Coming to you this evening like we always do from Train Station Studios.
Yeah.
Beautiful downtown Phoenix. Mike Grose, Bertrand Berry, and the gimpy Sean Crespin. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Appreciate that.
Thoughts and prayers. Give you an ice pack.
Thanks, man.
So we need to have an injury list now for the show.
I'm day to day.
Bertrand Berry listed as probable. Mike Grose probable. Sean Crespin is doubtful. Although you'd be doubtful like Giannis was for Game 1. We'll take that.
I wish I was doubtful like Giannis for Game 1. Dude balled out.
I wish I was doubtful for like Giannis for my career in basketball
Right.
because he still got a 20-piece with that being doubtful.
He was doubtful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he was dominant.
I'd be afraid to see 100%. But here we
Yeah.
find ourselves after Game 4. We're knotted up at 2 apiece in the NBA Finals. Neither team able to get over the hump on the road. And that's, look, if you're a Suns fan, you're probably feeling a little bit bad after Games 3 and 4 in Milwaukee because you went in with a ton of confidence and you thought, all right, look, we got this. And then Milwaukee flipped a switch. But I think a lot of it being at home, their crowd stepped up, just like you said the Suns crowd had been doing throughout B-Train. Now it's a matter, the question you asked me, can the Bucks win 4 out of 5?
Yes.
And I said no. Now the question is, can the Bucks or the Suns win 2 out of 3?
Yeah.
I think the real question is, will a team win on the road in this series?
We always say the playoffs don't begin until a team wins on the road. And thus far, we haven't seen it. So technically, the playoffs haven't begun. It's been chalk throughout the course of this finals. But I think it's been very compelling. And the finals have gotten better as the finals have gone on. Games 1 and 2, not very competitive, 10-point plus games for the Phoenix Suns. Then you get the series shift to Milwaukee, and now you see these games now start to have a different feel. You start to see Giannis, you start to see the role players for the Bucks start to surface and really make their contributions to this series. And of course, that Game 4, as close as it was a possession-by-possession game going down the stretch.
Yeah.
But I will say there were some things that were concerning when you talk about the Phoenix Suns because they didn't look like the juggernaut that we had seen throughout the course of the playoffs. And people are going to say, well, they were playing against teams that weren't hurt. Well, the Milwaukee Bucks aren't hurt. Well, they kind of are to a degree. We don't know if Giannis is 100%, but who's really 100% at this stage of the playoffs, Mike? I just think there's a lot of different variables that go into it. But ultimately, this series is shaping up just how we planned it.
And you look at Game 3, like this was, a must-win for the Bucks.
Yes, it was.
And they came out and they took care of business.
Yes.
I mean, so I don't want to dwell on that because you almost saw it coming. And I think the key for the Suns, everybody expected was, can you get one? And it would be Game 4. And they had it. You look at late in that game.
9-point lead.
9-point lead.
In the fourth.
In the fourth quarter.
Yes.
You're sitting there, you're feeling pretty good.
Yes.
If you're a Suns fan, and then they let it slip.
But Book got in foul trouble.
Book got in foul trouble.
Because they couldn't stop him.
No, that's a good point. But Book got some foul trouble.
Yes.
And Chris Paul, and we can talk about that. Chris Paul, whatever.
Doesn't look like CP3.
Is he tired? Is he injured? Is he?
Looks more like Cliff Paul. I mean, I'm just saying, you look at the last 2 games, Chris Paul has not looked like CP3.
Right.
He's looked like a different version of himself. He looks like a 36-year-old out there playing basketball in his 16th season, Mike.
Yeah, and it's that's the fatigue question. Like, is it really just fatigue with Chris Paul? Though there's a lot of sentiment around that. Like, this is his chance. We've talked about that. Do you have enough if you're Chris Paul to push through that, power through that to get where you want to go?
Mike, this is one of those where I think a lot of people are missing the point. Chris Paul has never played this late into a season ever. So you could talk about all of his brilliance and his ability to maneuver the defense and get the offense to go to where it wants to go. The one thing Chris doesn't have at this stage in his career is finals experience. He hadn't been there and done that before unlike a lot of his contemporaries like LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Steph Curry, these type of guys. This is his first time. He's never played this late into a season. So as a 36-year-old, your body's not going to respond to playing extra basketball like it did at 26. Yeah. So for him, I think he's trying to navigate through being an elder basketball player and making sure that he takes full advantage of this one maybe shining moment that he has to get that all-elusive championship ring.
People are taking that his latest State Farm commercial where he disappears, where he poof disappears. Oh. Yeah, it's not.
Or becomes a cardboard box.
It's not great timing now for him on that.
The cardboard cut up.
Yeah, that particular commercial. But you look at the turnovers, and it's you do have to ask yourself what's going on with him. 5 last game, 4 in game 3, 6 in game 2. With the 15 turnovers in the last 3 games, he didn't have a stretch of 3 games of 15 turnovers all year. So you wonder, what exactly is going on? Is it health? Is it wearing down, like you're saying? Because that's a very valid point as well. Is it P.J. Tucker and Drew Holiday and just what they're doing? I mean, in Game 2, they made the adjustment to pick him up for 70 feet, 90 feet, picking him up in the backcourt and just riding his hip.
Drew Holiday wore him out.
Yeah, and so I'm guessing it's probably a little bit of all of the above.
Sure.
But you got to get it fixed. You got to get it fixed in a hurry because 17 turnovers, you're not winning a game the rest of the way you turn it over like that.
And back to the point that you made about, the fatigue factor. Mm-hmm. We talked about this Suns team, and, we weren't sure as this went along. Where were they going to land in the Western Conference standing? Were they going to avoid the play-in games? And clearly they did. They got up to that number 2 seed, and somebody made the comment, like, those 10 games, when you look at, the not playing those 10 games that the NBA cut out, plus avoiding the play-in games, should benefit Chris Paul. But I think when we said that, we're thinking, okay, if you get into a second series, if you get into a third series, the benefit of that has gone by the wayside now, I would imagine, because you look at, 5 or 6 games against the Lakers, a 4-game sweep against the Nuggets, and then into the Clippers series, which was a 6-game series. Yep. So 10 games, do the math, that's somewhere in between the Lakers and the Nuggets series that you get back up to sea level for a regular NBA 82-game season.
Mike, I really think the biggest problem with Chris Paul is Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday has done something that you don't normally see when you start talking about great players, because he is part of that big 3 in Milwaukee.
He is.
He has completely sacrificed his offense to shut Chris Paul down on defense. He has worn him like a cheap suit for the last 2 games in particular. And I think for Mike Budenholzer, a guy that's caught a lot of flack for not having a lot of in-series adjustments, this has been one of the bigger adjustments that we've seen for the Milwaukee Bucks. And I also want to talk about familiarity that breeds contempt. You talk about P.J. Tucker. P.J. Tucker has a unique perspective in this situation because P.J. Tucker was once a Phoenix Sun, and he was here with Devin Booker, and he was told once upon a time, my job is to make it a living hell for you.
Yep.
And when you are being told to do something like that, and that is your job day in and day out, you remember those type of things. And then you talk about the fact that he was teammates with Chris Paul in Houston when they made that Western Conference championship run. They became a 1 3-pointer away from getting to the finals. These teams know each other. So there's not supposed to be these blowouts. It's not supposed to be these, we don't know this team and whichever style is going to run away with it. These guys all know each other, and when you start talking about how to defend each other, when you've been teammates and you practice day in and day out, you know them so very well, and I think we're seeing that manifest on the court right now.
You look at the box score from the game the other night in Milwaukee, and Devin Booker was, there were some issues, and we can get into those in a minute.
Yeah.
But the stat line, his on-court performance, for my money, was remarkable.
Oh, he did his part now.
Yeah, he did his part. 42 points, 17 to 28 from the floor. He did his thing. Then you look deeper into the box score. So Devin Booker, 17 to 28, as I said. The rest of the starting 5, so the other 4 guys, 14 to 38 from the floor.
Wow.
So you talk about Chris Paul because you have expectations from him. Jay Crowder, 3 of 10. DeAndre Ayton, 3 of 9. These guys did not step up and do their part as well.
Mike, this was the one game where I saw the youth of the Phoenix Suns really play against them. And I think to myself, Devin Booker, yes, you had a great game scoring the basketball, but from a defensive standpoint, there were moments where it's like, what are you thinking? Because there were some times where he could have easily fouled out early on in that fourth quarter. And I specifically remember a contest at the bucket against Drew Holiday. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
They need you on the court. You can't afford to give away a ticky-tack foul like that should have been an and one. That goes to inexperience, Mike. That goes to not knowing how to navigate through a game at this level, at this magnitude. And only Jay Crowder on this floor for either team has any experience in the finals. So you're starting to see that youth really come to surface, and I thought the Suns blew a golden opportunity in Game 4.
No, they really did. I mean, you hit the Cam Johnson 3 to start the fourth quarter that puts the Suns up 9
Right.
with just under 12 minutes left in the ball game at 11:42, just into the fourth quarter. He hits that 3. You think, man, they're up 9. Here we go.
Yep.
But Booker quickly picks up his 5th foul.
Everything changed.
And he got it off of a frustration foul, which that shows the mental. I'm trying to find
inexperience.
Yes,
Inexperience.
Because on the previous possession, the ball he was handling the ball, it goes off PJ Tucker's foot, but they give it to the Bucks.
Yes.
Instead of just rolling with it, understanding the situation, he picks up a 5th foul on a frustration foul where he bodies up PJ Tucker underneath the hoop for no reason whatsoever.
But we're going for a
None.
rebound. It was for a rebound.
Well, no, it was before the ball was even shot, though.
Yeah.
They were
He's
kind of
trying
running.
to
They
get
were running. Yeah, they're trying to get position. They're running down the baseline, and he bodies him out of bounds. Like, you can't do that, man. You just can't do it. And the Suns at that point then missed a golden opportunity from the 10:24 mark left in the fourth quarter. Cam Johnson hits a 2, puts the Suns up 6, 87-81. They make one field goal until the 5:52 mark. Almost 5 minutes of gameplay in the fourth quarter. They make one damn field goal. But they're still up 5 because the Bucks didn't do anything with it. That stretch there, if Booker was still in the game, if he didn't foul and put himself in foul trouble, I don't think we're talking about a tie series right now. I think that foul changed everything.
You could just see it tightening on the Suns during that stretch. Just feel it tighten. Like sitting there watching it, you're like, man, you can sense it coming through the TV.
Yes.
To your point, the Bucks didn't blow them out during that stretch.
No, they made up 1 point.
But the Suns were really
They had
tight.
them.
Yeah.
They had them.
Yeah.
Crowder kept the reason they only made it 1 point is because the Bucks also were very tight. There were moments when nobody wanted to take a shot on that roster in the fourth quarter. You could see them trying to dish it to nobody or somebody else who's equally as covered for no reason. Nobody wanted to take a shot. But Jay Crowder, he sold 3 of them. 3 of them.
Oh, yeah.
Where the 3-point shot, then where he got grazed in the face and he hit the ground like he just got poked in the eye like LeBron James. He sold 3 of them in the fourth quarter, knocked down a couple of free throws, and that's why the Suns still had a 5-point lead when Booker came back in the game. But
I just look at both teams, and both teams take turns playing tight.
Yeah.
And it speaks to not being there before or not been there before. And you have to we've been spoiled in the last, I want to say 5 to 7 years of NBA Finals, because the last 5 to 7 years you've seen at least one team that has a lot of playoff experience opposed to both teams in this finals with no playoff experience. I think it's good that we got new blood, but this is part of the setback of having this new blood. They hadn't been there collectively or individually, and so you're going to have to live with those mistakes. And can we please stop arguing with the refs at every possession?
My goodness.
That's something that has got to stop. I understand you want to get those calls in your favor, but it slows the game down, and it's not a good look, because every time these stars do something, they're going to show it on TV, and them constantly complaining is just not a good look.
And it doesn't usually work, so
no.
Keep moving.
Can we touch just real quick? I don't know if we're headed there or not. The block, the Giannis block
on
at the end of
DA.
the game. On
Best
DA.
block I've ever seen.
And I was going to ask you, as a pro athlete, because you guys, it doesn't matter what sport, what position you play, you do things grosser and I can't dream of. So when you
I dream of it.
when you see when you see an athletic play like that, like what comes through your mind? That was just sensational for him to get back, get to the point, and make that block. Was unbelievable.
There are about 2, maybe 3 people in the entire planet that could do what Giannis did.
Yep.
With the reaction time, he played both pick and roll. Like he stopped the ball and then had enough awareness to get back, put his hands up, and block the shot and the alley-oop. I mean, that is something that very few people on the planet can do. Everybody wants to bring up LeBron James's. I think his gets more credence because it was Game 7 on the road against a 73-win Golden State team. And the moment, at the time, everybody was exhausted, and every point mattered. But degree of difficulty, there is no question. Giannis Antetokounmpo,
and to not
his
foul.
block.
And they legitimately not fouled. I mean,
No
contact at all. Just an unbelievable play.
This series already has given us two. When you look back on it, right, and you talk about the LeBron James play, it has given, depending on who wins this, has given us two iconic individual plays, right? That one by Giannis, and then the one by Cam early on, the dunk. Like back in the day, I'm going to age myself. You won't have any idea what I'm talking about. But when I used to get Sports Illustrated, you used to wait and see what the posters were in the back.
Yep.
What's that supposed to mean?
I thought you
I used to have it.
You had the
subscription, man.
All right.
Football phone and all.
I withdraw.
More a swimsuit issue, but that's
I withdraw that comment then. But both of those plays, individual plays, man, those are poster plays. But going back to the '80s comment. Like
great plays.
There's a picture on Twitter. I'm going to find it and retweet it. Mm-hmm. Somebody, they digitized it a little bit, the Giannis play, and colorized it and took the background colors out of it. Like blow your mind type of quality picture to go with the quality of play. If the Suns end up winning this 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when they talk about when they bring this team back and they're playing it on the Jumbotron at the Footprint Center in downtown Phoenix.
They're going to show Cam.
They're going to show that play.
Yes, they are.
No disrespect to Book and whatever Chris Paul they are going to show that play.
Yes, they are. Because it was one of those that you just look at it and you think, oh my goodness, what did I just see? And for Giannis, for him to do it on the defensive side, because he wasn't the dominant 40-10 guy that he was the previous two games, but that play had every bit as impact on that game as the previous two total performances that he had. So you're seeing Giannis display his whole array of talent and why he's the two-time MVP and former Defensive Player of the Year, because you're seeing all elements of his game come to the forefront, and he's playing unbelievable basketball.
Sean said something when we recorded the last episode of this that stuck with me about Giannis and I don't know what you said, like the individuality of how he was playing and what that meant. It's great. Go ahead and score your 40 points, but your team loses 2 games on the road, right? So if I'm a Suns fan or if I'm Monty Williams, the thing that I'm concerned about is you walk away with a loss for whatever reason, but you look at the box score, and now all of a sudden Chris Middleton is the factor.
Yes.
So Giannis is doing what Giannis does.
Yes.
And by the way, you're like, okay, cool, 26 points out of Giannis. We can live with that. Mm-hmm. Well, wait a minute. Chris Middleton got 40.
Yeah. Can't live with that.
If I'm a Suns fan, that also has me concerned. If they can figure out how to do that together one time on the road, to the question I asked earlier, if they can do it in a Game 5 or a Game 7, then all of a sudden I think we're talking about something different.
Yeah, I always look at Stephen A. Smith on ESPN, and I have my disagreements with him at times, and there are times where I just kind of look at him like, what are you talking about? But he said something, I think it was either today or yesterday, that made all the sense in the world. He said, the Phoenix Suns better win Game 5 because they're not winning Game 6. And I really believe that if they have to go back, they have to go back to Milwaukee. They're not winning Game 6 in Milwaukee. Right. That's not happening. Both teams have established this home court advantage, and it's great to see because you see both fan bases are so eager to be a part of this game and do their part in helping the home team win. It's refreshing, Mike.
It's so cool.
It's refreshing to see the fan base get into it and to hear the sound after going through what we went through in 2020 with all the empty stadiums and very, very little crowd participation. To hear these fan bases go at it, I mean, it's a joy to my heart to see how these fans have ultimately affected this series.
Absolutely, and even when their team is not at home, what they do outside the arena in Milwaukee,
my goodness,
and what they did the other night in downtown
the Deer District, I think that's what they call it.
Just 2-star fan bases to do that. Real quickly before we get out of here and jump to another topic, 2 other things looking at the box score the other night. Brook Lopez, I'm thinking, man, this guy is old as dirt. But
he's not that old.
He's only 33, but it seems like he's been playing forever. And I looked it up because I didn't know for sure. His brother still plays.
Yeah, Robin. They were teammates last year in Milwaukee.
Right, yeah. And, he contributes 11, but he also contributes a calming.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't look like he's
just
frazzled.
the presence. Just the presence.
Frazzled. Like, you can't game plan against him. You can't worry about him, but he's out there.
Yeah.
Like,
and he's 7'1". He's a big man.
Yeah.
Like, you can't not account for him, because if you don't account for him, he will absolutely kill you, because he can catch those lobs and he can make an impact if you let him.
And then your guy, Pat Connaughton, a fighting Irishman.
Pat Connaughton, baby. Yes,
Did I
sir.
say that wrong? Connaughton.
Connaughton, baby. You know, he was a former pitcher at Notre Dame. Like,
Was he?
he was a two-sport athlete at Notre Dame.
And, you look at him and what he contributes, and ESPN did something like, the stars, but who's going to impact the outcome of this series?
The others.
And one of them said, Pat Connaughton.
Pat Connaughton.
Connaughton.
You think about that 3-point shot
Pat from
he
Notre
hit
Dame
in the fourth quarter from the assist from Giannis.
Yeah.
That's a huge shot. And the thing that you see with this series, Mike, is Pat makes that shot at home. Does he make that shot on the road?
And that was it. Who's going to step up on the road and help their team?
Who's going to step up on the road? Because we've seen these guys, when they're at home and they're comfortable and they got their own comforts around them and their fan bases around them, they play a totally different game than what they do when they're on the road. And whoever figures it out first is going to be the one that I think ultimately hoists up that Larry O'Brien.
Game 5 coming up this weekend.
Can't wait. Saturday.
Downtown Phoenix, from the Footprint Center in downtown Phoenix.
How about that?
Footprint Center.
Naming rights were sold not too long ago.
Well, I don't think we put it on the podcast, but we were talking about it either before or after one day. What was the missed opportunity by the Suns this year with it just blowing up and really become one of the focal points of the league, and not having a naming rights deal?
That's definitely it's not a good look. But when did that become such a big deal? When did we care about what the name of the stadium is? Like, we just wanted to care where it was so we could go watch the team play.
Yeah. That's a good question, because growing up,
it may have been the best thing for the Suns. Say you signed a deal before the year started and your average attendance was X. Now you're signing a deal when you're going into the NBA Finals and your average attendance is Z.
Well,
you
the
might be able
leverage
to
is
get
great.
yeah.
The leverage
so
is
it
through the roof.
may have been the best thing for them to not do it till now.
No, and that's
For Robert Sarver.
Well, that's for Robert Sarver, and that's a good point, because when the TV schedule comes out next year, if you're playing in the NBA, these guys will be playing on Christmas Day. Remember, people all get. They were 9-0 in the bubble, and they didn't get the It's like the Monday night question or the Sunday night question in the NFL.
Absolutely.
What are the primetime games? What are the big holiday games? The Christmas Day games in the NBA?
And with Footprints, now they know they're going to get a few commercials out of this deal.
Absolutely.
So this is great timing for them to partner up with the Suns at this moment that the Valley has waited for however, since 1993, for 28 years.
Yeah.
The timing couldn't be better for them to get on board.
And real quickly, the other thing I'll say, wasn't it cool seeing all the old legends at the game the other night?
Oh, Oscar Robertson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Yeah, that was absolutely awesome.
So cool.
Yes.
Would you love to be a fly on the wall sitting between those two? When they showed them coming out of a commercial, one of the things ESPN did do okay, Sean, was they had it like a the camera, and the only two in the shot was Oscar Robertson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar doing one of these like little leaning over, having it. What were they talking about?
I mean, Mike, I think rightfully so, because if you think about from a practical standpoint, they were really only the two guys in the whole arena with championship rings.
Yeah.
Everybody else was kind of waiting to try to get that first one. So
Totally.
If you're going to talk about you got to give champions their respect. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. All right, we'll get out of here and come back. Good, bad, the otherwise, the NFL up next on Train and Gross.
Yeah.
Train and Gross.
I'm good. Welcome back, Train and Gross. NFL season right around the corner. You made up the point, I think it was last week we were talking about this, about should the NBA, and they're not going to, but should they have considered keeping their season as a late winter, spring, summer sport, ending the NBA Finals in July, and you brought up the fatigue factor for the fan
fans.
base.
You need a time to catch your breath.
Yeah, and you do, because guess what? I was listening to Sports Talk Radio here in town, and they were talking about Cardinals getting ready to open camp, and they're going to have fans in the stadium able to watch training camp, and so it's right around the corner. Somebody that I follow on Twitter said it's 20 days till the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio.
Two of my favorite teams actually start next week, Steelers and the Cowboys, because they play in that Hall of Fame game. So they go a week earlier than everybody else. And so
two of your favorite
Was
teams?
there sarcasm in that?
Yeah,
a lot of
making sure.
sarcasm. A lot of sarcasm.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure.
Really? My favorite teams, when I say
well,
those
that's
two
why-
names?
But you said it with such a straight face and in such a straight tone.
You didn't say two of my favorite teams.
Right.
Like, it was like,
Yeah.
I thought we missed something.
I thought you guys knew me.
We did. That's
I thought
why
we
we
had
were-
a
No,
rapport.
did you see? I mean, it hit us.
I mean, I'm in my head.
Hold up.
What
Yeah.
the? Yeah.
Favorite teams. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they're already going to be starting in camp, and of course, there's lots of questions around both of those franchises, but I'm just excited for football to get back. And Mike, I'm going to say this. Whenever I smell fresh cut grass in July, I start to get that itch. Because I still get that itch because that's the smell that reminds me that it's time to go to work. And even though it's been 12 years, like I've been out as long as I played now, and I still get that itch when I smell that fresh cut grass, that, man, my body almost kind of goes into autopilot. It's like, yeah, it's time to get ready. The muscles start tensing up, and you just feel a little bit different. Like you start getting that twitch where, you got to react fast and do all these different things. But there's going to be a lot of excitement because there's going to be a lot of different storylines that are going to dominate the news here in the first part of this season.
So we're closing in on training camp, mindset of players getting ready for camp. What were you like? How did you look forward to camp in 97, 98, early on for you in your NFL career?
So early on in my career, I didn't go about it the correct way. For me, it was I partied all the way up until it was time to go, like maybe 2 days before I stopped doing anything. But once I got to be a veteran, maybe 6, 7 when I was in Denver, I took 10 days off. I didn't do anything before start of camp. Like the 10 days before camp, I always marked it off on my calendar. Okay, so we have to report on the 24th. So from the 14th all the way through, I'm not doing anything other than sitting, resting, stretching, drinking water, those type of things. Any honeydews that were asked of me to do, those just had to wait until we got to the next off season. But if you're really smart, you got to make sure you give your body that rest and give it that calm before the obvious storm hits you.
And I know you and I have had this conversation, but the as you grew on in your career, and you told me about other players, that friends of yours or guys you played with, the mental part of going to training camp late in your career.
Brutal.
I mean, you told me about a guy who we won't, it doesn't matter, but who was a vet who had been in the league a long time. Like, he was literally crying, sitting in his car about the thought of leaving his family and going to training camp.
Mike, that was me. I was that guy. I cried every time I drove.
I just said it wasn't going to be named.
Hey, it was me. I cried every time because I knew what was required in order to be successful at my job. It was going to require me going to a different place mentally. And to say that guys are willing and ready to just do that at the time, no, you're not. But once you get there and you see your boys and you see the team and you get into that mode, then you go into autopilot and it's full steam ahead. So you know the price you have to pay in order to be great. And some guys, like myself, yeah, I'm willing to pay it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't suck.
Doesn't mean you like it either.
Yeah.
When you were, and I should know the answer to this, you played for Denver 2001 to 3.
Yep.
Where did they have training camp at that point? Were they in Dove Valley or were they still out in Greeley?
So they had it in Greeley my first 2 years, and then the last year they had it in Dove Valley for the first time.
What did you think of Greeley?
I didn't like the smell. The smell in the morning.
So bad.
The smell in the morning was awful. I mean, it was one of those where you come outside and you come out of your dorm to go eat, and it's almost like you don't feel like eating because whatever that smell was, I think it was cow's blood.
No, it was there's a Hormel, a pig rendering plant.
Or pig, there you go.
Pork plant.
Pork,
right in Greeley. It's one of the biggest employers in Greeley.
Pork
and we used to
blood.
joke around. I lived in Denver for 10 years.
Yeah.
Even when you moved back to Denver, if the wind blew right, you could smell that plant.
Yeah, man. And I tell you, it really did affect my appetite going up to camp and, getting up in the morning and having to go to the training table, smelling that stuff, man. It really questioned how much you really want to eat that day because that smells give you a certain feel.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel it, that meal, then it's going to be hard to choke it down.
Going through the buffet saying, no bacon for me, thank you very much.
Bacon and eggs, I mean, oof, my goodness.
No, there's a very unique smell to Greeley, Colorado when the weather's
indeed.
just right. All right, Bertrand Berry's rules for players that are on a roster or maybe players that wish they were on a roster, stay out of trouble. And I don't – this is not the normal thing. Richard Sherman was in the news, and it wasn't a good look.
No, not at all. The video was very, very, very damning.
And he gave an apology
Which he had to do, Mike.
Oh, no, he absolutely had to do it. And look, the 49ers came out, and I guess they said that we're going to support Richard any way we can.
But he's not a member of
But
it
he's not.
anymore.
But, again, they
And he was in Seattle, where he used to play.
I understand. John Lynch felt compelled to make a statement on behalf of Richard Sherman.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Richard Sherman was going to play or not this year. I don't know if he had designs to say, hey, look, maybe somebody needs a guy who's been around for a little while and could add a little depth at the corner. I think that door's shut with this activity this week.
Well, will it? I don't know, because I think he's built up so much cachet. And, Mike, this was his first offense.
Yeah.
He had never been in trouble with the law
Which
before
made it so surprising.
Very surprising to see him behave in that way, because that's just that's not how he portrayed himself as an individual. And he's always been a guy that's been a leader in the locker room, very well spoken, very articulate, a guy that went to Stanford, so he carried himself in a different way.
Yeah.
And for him to be caught in a way like that, it was shocking. It was jarring, because not to say that he didn't have that potential, because we all have that potential that play football. We're all a little bit nuts. But to see that on full display, Mike, in that video, it was something that I couldn't reconcile at first. It took me a minute to really reconcile the fact that I'm watching Richard Sherman do these type of things to a door.
Well, and, when the story came out, Richard Sherman was arrested. That's the first thing. You're like, damn, that's too bad.
Yep.
Hope it wasn't serious. And then it kind of unfolds.
Yes.
And we were talking before we started recording, and either you or Sean said it, man, if he would have got through that door.
Oh, the person that was on the other side would have gotten a whole lot of work, Mike.
Right?
It would not have ended well for that individual. I think it was his wife's dad. So I'm just glad that the door held and he walked away. But again, just not a good look. And Mike, late nights and alcohol are never a recipe for good things. Never.
Yeah, and Sean mentioned that, somebody, you heard something about he drank 2 bottles of something.
It was on the 911 call.
Yeah.
They were asking his wife, who made the call, had he been drinking. She said 2 bottles. The lady on the 911 call said, 2 bottles of what? She said 2 bottles of alcohol. That's a lot, man.
Well,
you're putting
yeah.
it back.
Yeah.
And I think, too, you have to make the distinction, because 2 bottles of beer is not the same as 2 bottles of liquor.
gin, yeah.
Not even close.
So I think she was hesitant, because in a weird way, as frightened as she was in that moment, she was still protecting her husband.
She was.
Because she would not give it up, because the 911 operator was asking very specific questions, because it was going to frame how they handled Richard Sherman in that moment. And so for her to in that particular moment where it's most important, still be protective, yet try to protect her family, her dad, and whoever else was in that house, it just was one of those surreal moments. Like, what do you do? And I give her a lot of credit for showing compassion and standing by her man.
Yeah, no. And it's hard, right? Because you see something escalating, and again, we can only surmise that this hasn't been, because we all agreed we haven't heard Richard Sherman's name. So to I don't know if composure is the right word, but to have the frame of mind to do just what you said in the moment, because there's partly protect the family.
Yes.
But there's also partly like, holy geez, what's going
on
here?
With him?
Like,
yeah.
Also, but differently, protect the family.
No doubt.
So to keep it together to that level.
Yes.
I agree with you. Give her a ton of credit.
This is a great teaching tool for all veterans, to the younger guys. Don't do this. This is what we've been telling you about. Don't do this in this moment. You're so close to the start of the season. Don't go out there and blow everything you've worked for your entire life. You've worked 21, maybe 22, 23 years to get to this point. Don't blow it on a bad decision on a Wednesday night, or whatever day of the week it was. Don't give it all away for a bad decision. Yeah. And you saw that on full display with the veteran, the guy that probably was the one giving that speech a lot of the times when he was played. Now he's the focal point of that story, and I think because it's a Richard Sherman, I think it holds a little more weight, and it gets the attention of the younger players, because that name is a name that people know. People know Richard Sherman when you say that name.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I think it shows is how hard it is, and that expectation that is placed upon athletes, particularly football players. Like, I look at football as different than the other major four in this regard. There is a certain level of I don't know if rage is the right word, or that mindset where you, when you walk across the white line,
Yes.
you got to flip that switch.
Yes.
Like, and Richard Sherman, when he was playing, when he was at the peak of his career, represented that very, very well.
And
he was, fair to say, he was among elite.
Yeah.
For the better part of his career. But then, whether it's literally walking across the line or figuratively,
Yep.
that's hard.
Yeah.
Because you're wired a certain way
Yes.
when you do that job for as long as he did it.
Yes, and I think to sum him up in a nutshell, he wasn't the face of the NFL, but he was definitely a spokesperson for the NFL. And I think that type of responsibility is just as important. Even if you're not the face like a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady, if you're a spokesperson, people are listening to everything that you say and do. So I think for him, he's going to have to figure this out. But Mike, I want to ask you this one thing, because this is something that we hadn't talked about. It just came to my mind. We're starting the football season. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be plenty of storylines around every single team. All 32 teams believe that they've done enough this year to get themselves in a position to go to the Super Bowl. What storyline around the NFL, take the Cardinals out, what storyline are you most interested in seeing play out the first part of this season as we get ready to get the season underway?
The one that goes to me is, what's going to happen in the NFC North?
Okay.
That Aaron Rodgers piece. Like, I read and gamblers, they do what they do, but you can also kind of read into what they do and how things are going to play out. That if for whatever reason Aaron Rodgers isn't part of the NFC North, that completely changes the face of that division. If Aaron Rodgers comes back, even if he's coming back with a huge chip and he hates everybody, but he's going to come back as Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
And it's Green Bay and everybody else at that point.
Mike, I look at that division. I don't think anybody's prepared to take over that mantle.
What do you do if he's not there, though? If you will somebody, because I can't see.
Everybody's got flaws.
Totally.
The Chicago Bears don't know who their quarterback is going to be. Are you going?
That's one of the best storylines, though, to see what they do with him, because I think the kid can play. So
yeah, are you going with the rookie, or are you going with the proven vet? If you're Minnesota, who's going to? Are you really going to look at Kirk Cousins as your guy? Is he still that guy for you? Detroit Lions.
They're a mess.
What team is going to take over if let's say Aaron Rodgers decides somehow, some way, I'm just not playing. Like, I'm going to stick to my principles. I'm not playing in 2021.
Or they deal him away and let the kid play.
Throw the other three teams up in a hat, and which one is going to be the one?
I think
that
it's
comes
a
out?
Minnesota-Chicago question. Even with that, you could take Aaron Rodgers out, and Detroit's not winning that division. But I think Minnesota-Chicago. But if Aaron Rodgers plays, this is a team that's going to win that division by, when you talk about clinching the division in early December.
Yep.
That I think it's that big of a difference. Well, maybe it's mid-December now with the way they adjust the schedule, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, Mike, I'm going to go to AFC East. I'm fascinated with the new-look New England Patriots, because good and dang well it ate at them to watch Tom Brady hoist that trophy. For Bill Belichick, it had to just eat and Robert Kraft. Those two individuals, more than anybody else, more than his former teammates, more than anybody else, like equipment guys, training room guys, those two individuals had as much to do with Tom Brady not being there as him being there or being there in Tampa Bay and hosting up that trophy. They want nothing more than to go back and reclaim their dominance in the AFC East, because that's not going to be an easy win with Buffalo coming.
Oh, no.
And Miami and what they got going on. That division all of a sudden is not such a cherry pick. Now, the Jets, I don't know. They got new quarterback, new head coach. They're going to take some time. But for Buffalo and Miami, I think there are real expectations in this division.
Well, I think you raise a good point, and we talked about this at the start, where I think Bill Belichick especially rolled the dice and thought, we're not playing a full season in 2020. He would never admit that, but you could just tell some of the things that were happening. Like, they finally bought Cam in. Like, it was not a sense of urgency when they bought him in, if I recall properly. And how many players did New England have opt out of the season, which I believe led the league?
8.
Yeah. So they've got 8 guys that
didn't want to play.
They come back. Are they able to get back after sitting out an entire year, get back into the form and do it the Patriot way? And I think you're exactly right. And that that franchise especially, a lot of that comes top down.
I think there were a few things at play in New England. I think, one, Bill Belichick got humbled.
Yeah.
I think he finally, for the first time in this big run, this great run that he's been on as the head coach of the New England Patriots, he finally saw people around him not really want to be around him.
Mm-hmm.
8 guys
Yeah.
opted out. And then you have Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski retire rather than play for you and go back to the NFL and follow the quarterback. And you saw all these other guys, like Antonio Brown, who played for Belichick, all these guys migrating down south to go play with Tom Brady. They chose Brady over Belichick. So for him, then you got the other 8 that said, I don't want to play. I mean, I'm going to use this as an excuse, but, it's not really that fun. We could have come in and made this thing okay, but they didn't want to play because Brady wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I think for Belichick, he had to sit there and he had to wallow in it. And while his team went 7-9, I think he had to really do some soul searching. And for him to come back guns blazing with the amount of money, I think he spent, $180 million in guaranteed money for free agents this offseason.
Which was totally unlike how he's built the teams in the past. And so
he had to have an epiphany.
It shows that desperation almost.
He had to have an epiphany.
Yeah.
Like, okay, wait a minute. These guys don't really care even if we win, they still don't want to be with me. Like, I thought they liked what I did.
Yeah.
But I think he had to look at it at face value and look at 2 of his more popular guys go out there in Tampa Bay, 3, and go out there and hoist up that Lombardi trophy. I think that did something to him on the inside, and you saw his mode of operation completely different than what
So
it's
it'll
been.
be interesting to see if, once it's for real, once they're in camp, if he can truly change and truly, take that feedback, right? It's,
Oh, he's not changing.
all right.
He's not changing his stripes. But I think their quarterback situation is equally as interesting.
I was just about to ask, who do you think starts?
Yeah, I think Cam will be your starter at the start of camp. But if they're not,
If he starts camp, he's going to finish. Yes, I believe
mean
that.
you'll be a starter as week 1 is what you're getting at?
If he's the starter week 1, he's going to be the starter week 18.
You think so?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think there's a legitimate opportunity for the rookie to beat him out in camp?
Yes.
Yeah.
They brought him. He's a 15th pick.
Right.
They don't usually have 15 overall picks at the bench. If they're first round picks, they play. That's not their motive. Especially what we've seen the first 20 years of Belichick. He's not a guy that's going to waste the first round.
And that's why you know how it is, right? I mean, as soon as Cam has back-to-back off days, back-to-back off weeks, as soon as Cam has a game where he throws 2 picks and doesn't find his way into the end zone, you know how that fan base is going to react. You know that it's going to be pressure to get that kid in there like you wouldn't believe, which is why I wouldn't be shocked if you do see him eventually.
Well, and the other
In the
thing
regular
too,
season.
and the other thing too, and you brought this up, Buffalo especially is, there's no question about what they're capable.
They're not giving up that crown.
And Miami,
That's a
there's
good team,
expectations
man.
on the Dolphins, and so the combination of if Cam plays bad and they're losing ground to Buffalo and possibly Miami, that might force the change as well.
Aren't you? And again, we're talking about storylines here.
Yeah.
I think you can go south of where we've been talking, and the whole Urban Meyer experiment in Jacksonville with the most sought-after quarterback in quite some years coming out of college. That's a heck of a storyline, too. I don't think it's got a good ending, but I think it's a heck of a story.
Well, people are going to watch it just because, right?
Yes.
I think Urban Meyer has greatly underestimated the fact that he can't control every aspect of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When he was at Florida, when he was at Ohio State, heck, when he was at Bowling Green, he controlled every aspect, and Utah, he controlled every aspect of those programs. Everything went through him. Everything had to be funneled through him as far as information that got out to the public, as far as who was hired, who was not hired. But I think he's seeing for the first time that there are people in that organization that have more power than him. And I don't know if he's long for that, because that's not how he's operated, and that's not how he's had success during the course of his career.
If you Google Urban Meyer right now, all the stories about how frustrated Urban Meyer is by the constraints of the NFL rules.
And he just got subpoenaed.
And he just got subpoenaed in the...
Which is not good.
No, not at all. But, it goes to show, like what you were saying, when he was in college, he did what the hell ever he
had
wanted
free
to do.
autonomy. He could do whatever he wanted
There was
to do.
no players union in college football.
No.
They got the 20-hour rule, you know his teams weren't following that.
Athletic director, say what?
Yeah,
Please,
exactly.
I'll holler at you
so
later.
now he's frustrated. Jimmy Johnson gave an interview about how frustrated Urban Meyer is with the rules of the NFL and how he's got to abide by them.
And who better than Jimmy Johnson, the guy that had that same type of situation with Jerry Jones out there in Dallas?
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about the success that he had, national championship, Super Bowl champion twice, but that still didn't work. It still didn't work out. He still was that control freak, and ultimately Jerry Jones flexed on him, and that relationship has never been the same.
Never. No. Interesting. And the rules, when there's the I'll use the term loosely, the player safety rules.
Yes.
Have really tightened up from the time Jimmy Johnson was coaching.
My goodness.
To where we are today and what Urban Meyer has to, again, using air quotes, has to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Now, flip side is, hey, Urban, you knew what you were getting into. Mm-hmm. If you didn't like it, go back to college if you still felt like you wanted to coach.
NFC West, switching gears, sorry to get that hard turn because I know we're running up against the clock. NFC West, widely considered the toughest division. AFC North, close second?
I think so.
Yeah. I think there's a few you can lump together. I think the AFC. You said the North.
AFC North: Cleveland,
Yep,
Baltimore,
sure.
Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati.
It's there. I think the AFC West is going to be intriguing, top heavy. I think you got the Chiefs. Obviously, are still the best team in the conference. I think the Chargers are going to have a big jump this year. That's a good.
Your Raiders aren't in that top two?
No, I think the Chargers and Raiders are right there.
Okay.
Broncos, I'll tell you this: if the Broncos figure out their quarterback, that might be the best roster on paper.
Be on the lookout for Aaron Rodgers.
I just don't know if they'd make that move, man.
So what?
But if you look at no, I'm not saying the Broncos wouldn't. I just don't know if Green Bay actually pulls the trigger on sending them out.
If they don't have a choice, I think that's one to look at.
But if you look at that Broncos roster, that roster top to bottom is pretty damn solid.
It is, but I think there's too much swirling around the Broncos organization right now. I saw the story this week where they're getting ready to go, the Bolin family's getting ready to go to court now. And you got brothers and sisters, subpoenaing brothers and sisters, and the question whether or not, what's the parachute package to get John Elway out of there.
Yeah.
Like there is so much swirling around this Broncos organization that, they're missing some stability. Now, don't feel bad for the Bolin family because they're saying this may force the family out finally, and they said they could get between $4 and $5 billion.
Yep.
And then the exit package to get John Elway out of the front office would be a minority ownership stake. Say, look, we appreciate everything. You should be part of this, but you're done making football decisions. So I just think with the Broncos, there's so much going on around that it's going to make it tough.
And you got the questions at the two biggest spots, coaching and quarterback.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, Mike. The people that are going to be least affected are the people that have the most influence, the players. The players do not care. The players, all they want to do is get to camp, show that they can be a part of this team, and make their money. They don't care about ownership because most of those guys don't even know all the Bolin kids.
And I totally agree with that. The 53-man roster doesn't care, but that next level up, the John Elway suite in there, the guys that have to make the decisions on the fly, they're talking about blowing them out as part of this.
Sure.
So, I totally, and you've drilled that home. It's the individual
contractors.
You're a contractor working for yourself.
53 individual contractors.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
I completely get that. But when you have that, you don't have any structure, you don't have any consistency, whatever it might be. Look at all the other teams. What do we like about the Kansas City Chiefs right now?
Stable.
It's
top to bottom.
Right?
Yes, they are.
So, whatever the Bronco roster is, and I think everybody agrees it's improved, I just feel like there's so much swirl above it that if they have to make any decisions on the fly, if there's tough decisions coming out of camp, if there's if there is a Aaron Rodgers trade to be had, are they in the ability to do anything because of what's, if you got the family in court deciding who's going to own the team,
right?
Are you going to be able to pull the trigger on something I don't know, and nobody knows.
But Mike, here's the thing: I put the Packers in the same category as I put the Broncos. Yes, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of moving parts going on with these organizations. The players don't care. Once you get to training camp, your job is to go out and do what you're supposed to do so you can get that check that gets cashed in your account because those guys are going to be getting whatever check that they are going to get, but you're just trying to get your little slice of heaven. And you're going to do everything that you can to make sure that you're in position when it all matters, when you get to September, whatever day that is, and they kick it off for real. You're just trying to get to that opening kickoff because once that ball kicks off, everything is guaranteed after that, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll keep an eye on it. Fun
Yeah.
stuff. NFL right around the corner. It's all
Yeah,
good.
baby.
Plenty
1
to
week.
talk about. All right, on the other side, some college football, Major League Baseball. That's on Train and Gross.
Yeah.
Train and Gross.
We could sell this place out. It will be awesome. And that's what it's like, oh no, if you win, we'll come. How about if you come, we'll win? And, let's trade it that way and say, if you keep coming and we keep competing hard, these kids deserve it. They're working their tails off at 6 in the morning and at 6 at night to be able to put a great product on the field. Will it be great? I don't know, but it's going to be something that you'll be proud of.
That's Jed Fish, guest on the Wildcat Country podcast. Eric Cohn, Shane Dale, part of the All AZ family.
Love it.
The suits at All AZ putting together a great lineup of content here.
It's all good, baby.
But Jed Fish, I appreciate what he's saying, but he's got a tough road to hoe. Will they sell it out? No. To start, it's Arizona. Even when you're okay or trending the right way, you don't sell out in Arizona. But you sense something there, and a really good interview that the guys did with Coach Fish, that there's an energy, there's an enthusiasm. I like the answer. It's a non-coach answer. Will it be any good?
I don't know.
Like, that is such a good answer right now because he doesn't know.
It's honest.
And I think that type of, we talked about this last week when we were talking about Monty Williams, and I don't know what it's going to turn out to be for Jed Fish, but you've got to have a guy that's genuine. You've got to have a guy that can communicate, and a guy that his players are going to buy into. And in college football, that shows up two ways, right? And that shows up on what your current team does and how they react to you, and do players that are coming to college in the coming years, do they come here? And we spent a lot of time, and somebody gave me a hard time, said we were picking on ASU.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We didn't mean to do that.
Sorry, not sorry.
But I was telling Sean this, there's a group of people out here in Arizona that the social media crowd that are influencers, right? And all of a sudden there's starting to be this bubbling up of how Arizona, the University of Arizona, is recruiting Arizona kids. I believe they've got 4 committed coming up. ASU has none. We talked last week about the article that was in the East Valley Tribune about some of the challenges. So look, I think you do this a couple ways if you're Jed Fish. Like, obviously, eventually you're going to have to put a winning product on the field. That cupboard was so bare. That, in my mind, is a 2 to 3 year project. People have to see progress. People have to see, that it's headed in the right direction. I think that'll be good enough to start. And the local kids know that, and they seem at some level to be buying into it right now.
This will be a referendum on the ability to recruit locally. Yeah. If you see in the next 2 to 3 years, as you talked about, this team get to or play for and win a Pac-12 championship, they will own this city, or they will own this state for the next 10 years. If they're able to do it.
Yeah.
That's a big if, though, Mike.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I look at the recruiting in 2 ways, because you look at the high school kids that I just mentioned. They got 4 commits coming up.
2 defensive ends.
2 East Valley kids, I believe.
Yeah.
Which what we were talking about last
Saguaro
week.
and Hamilton.
But then the other side is kids that left previously are coming home. And that's a little bit different thing because, you leave and who knows what's going on, why you leave. Maybe you want to be closer to home. Maybe there were issues. Maybe they recruited somebody to take your job. But, kids like Drake Anderson, son of our friend Damian Anderson.
No doubt.
You look at some of the great kid, talented kid.
Yes.
And you look at some of his highlights at Northwestern.
Yeah.
Like, he's got something. And
no
there's
doubt.
question, his junior year in high school, like, he's the bionic man. Like, he got both hips rebuilt.
Yep.
So kids like that are coming home. Gunnar Cruz came home.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But it's just kind of a dichotomy right now where you've got a team right now, and I think, Sean, I don't know if you said it while we were recording or not, but, the over-under right now for U of A, I think, is 2 wins, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's 2 wins. That's how bare the cupboard is. That's how they're perceived by the people that cover this conference.
Yep.
And I think one of the games is NAU.
Oh,
wow. They've got a ton of work to do. But I love that answer. I was listening to the podcast, and I love I don't know. Right? I love it. I think it's great.
Mike, there is going to be a lot of eyeballs watching what U of A does. Obviously, ASU and everything that they're going through, there's not going to be a lot of eyeballs on them. because it's not going to be anything worth seeing. That's going to be a bloodbath, and I think that's going to be ugly before it ever gets good again. But with U of A, there's a real chance because of Coach Fish's attitude, because of his approach and the things that he's done off the field thus far. He's gotten people's attention. Like, they're still kind of, oh, yeah, okay, that's a nice story. He's rah-rah. Okay, we get it. But if he by chance exceeds expectations, and in the next 2 to 3 years, as you said, Mike, that window, if they're able to get anywhere around 7-8 wins in one of those years, I think he can get a stranglehold on Arizona players. And if you are able to keep these guys local and build something together, and the city and the state can rally around that school, they have a chance to do something big, not only in the Pac-12, but maybe something a little bit bigger down the road. And with the ASU story, nothing new that I'm aware of has come out recently. I guess the NCAA probably just a wait and see.
They're in the evaluation stage since they don't have to come out and investigate since it was all delivered to them. But Keyshawn Johnson comes out and says, "Well, I was mistaken, guys. It was my bad. It wasn't Kevin Mawai that was the he wasn't the leak. He wasn't the source of the information." I wonder how that conversation went. Get a text, call me now.
Yeah, they were teammates back in the day.
That's what I mean.
And for Keyshawn to put that out there, and for Kevin, I mean, Kevin was never just a warm and fuzzy guy. He was kind of rough around the edges, even to his friends. Right. So I can only imagine a story like this comes out, and it's one of your you are going to talk this? A wide receiver, a diva receiver, talking about an offensive lineman being a snitch? I mean, come on now. Those are strong words, and you better be able to back them up. And Keyshawn, for the most part, says a lot of things that are accurate. Right. But when you get it wrong, you're going to have to pay that price. And I think Kevin Mawai had every intention on making sure that Keyshawn knew exactly what the situation was in reference to Kevin Mawai. He backed it up quick. Yes. I mean, that was one of the smoothest Michael Jackson moonwalk type deals since the 25th anniversary. Did I say Kevin Mawai? Motown. My fault. I did not mean that. You remember how smooth Michael Jackson was during that moonwalk, during that show? That's how Keyshawn looked, backtracking that story. So, it remains to be seen what all details come out in reference to that. But I'm curious. They've piqued my curiosity, Coach Fish and the University of Arizona, because to see some of the guys in particular that they've already got committed to this team and the transfers that they've got, there's a new commitment, if you will, to this university, and I'll be interested to see if it's enough to get them over the hump and make them competitive again. I think it's one step, and I think you look at it, the question about recruiting Arizona, we've talked about it the last couple of weeks. It's becoming more and more important, because you can't just ignore it when you look at the kids around the country. But if you're U of A or if you're ASU, you're anybody, you're not going to build a championship program solely recruiting Arizona yet. You can't do it. You can't. Why though? There's not enough yet. It's not enough. You look at USC or UCLA. You own Los Angeles, and you add from around here, right? The state. Okay. Texas, you better own Texas A&M, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then you can add kids from around. See, Arizona does not have that depth of talent to, I don't think, be the sole source of your talent to build a program. See, I'm interested in that, Mike, because I go all the way back to the 80s. You remember when Miami and they basically recruited the city of Miami. Mm-hmm. They had all of those little pockets of the city all come together that beat up on each other when they were in high school, but they figured out a way to come together, settle their differences, and work together to build up that university in their beloved city. I look at Texas once upon a time. You look at USC. Yeah, they got a few guys here and there, but those are basically California guys. Los Angeles guys. And, I mean, you had a few guys here and there. You could cherry pick from this or that region. But I think Arizona at some point, if they were to be able to get all of their top players to just come here. Now, the thing that we've seen in recent history is there's been a lot of quarterbacks that have been really good. And, big shout out to our good friend. Manouch. Manouch has done a great job of coaching them up. But only one quarterback can play. So those guys had to go different places, and we understand that. But I'll be real interested to see if University of Arizona could actually get it to where all of the talent funnels to Tucson, and they're able to see how they measure up against some of the big boys around the country.
Yeah, well, and whatever that equation is, it's tilting more and more to the Arizona, and you know this with the work you do here at Train Station.
Sure.
That just the sheer volume of talent is increasing. And you talk to a guy like Manuch, who's been around forever and a day, and say, Manuch, what's the difference on a high school Friday night in 2020 or 2021 versus 1990 or 1980? What, back when, I think Manuch graduated from high school in the late mid-70s, whenever he graduated, and he came
it's been
back.
a minute.
So he knows, he knows what it's like, right?
Yep.
And there was always great talent, but now there's so many more schools.
So many more options.
No, I'm talking about just high schools in the state of Arizona.
Oh, yes.
So
yes.
that just the sheer
it's
volume
diluted.
of talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diluted,
So, and the other thing is, part of it is on the schools, and I think, as we said, we talked about that East Valley Tribune story regarding ASU. I get it. But part of it is up to the individual. Like, I remember Taylor Lewan, who played at Chaparral. He went to the University of Michigan, but he had family ties back there, apparently, I guess. That was part of the reason why he went. And I know his high school coach was very close to Rich Rod at the time.
Sure.
So that combination of things, there's, that just helps make the decision. I sent you a text earlier this week where a kid from, a cornerback from Brophy, Ben Morrison, commits to your alma mater,
cheer,
right?
baby. Cheer.
I guess he didn't get into Stanford, so he's going to Notre Dame.
Zing!
But there's options, and kids want to go, and I bet you, maybe his dad went to Notre Dame, or maybe it's just like, hey, I grew up watching Notre Dame on NBC, and I want to go play for the Fighting Irish. Right. So there's options to get out. I get it. You're never going to keep them all here, but I think the narrative that you're driving home here is keep more and more here, and
see what happens.
If you own the state, then that's not a bad thing. And then you can kind of flip the script. You own the state, and you can supplement. U of A typically is the Texas school. ASU is typically the California school in terms of where they go. So we'll see what happens with that. Did you watch the All-Star game, Major League Baseball All-Star game?
No, I didn't, Mike. I did not. I saw a little bit of Shohei Ohtani because he's that guy. He is the star of the league right now, and I want to see how he did, and he did how I thought he would do.
Yeah.
He made an appearance, and he got out of there pretty quick, unscathed. Good for him.
With Major League Baseball starting to have the same thing that the other sports are having, where guys are choosing to opt out and not want to be part of the All-Star, I was going to say All-Star weekend, whatever, the All-Star festivities. But, it was the uniforms, that was the big talk.
Hated them.
Were we I always wondered, though, when you talk about the halftime show at the NFL or some of the jersey, are we the target market? I'm the old guy in the conversation, but when they look at it, they're trying to sell this stuff, right? So who's the target market for the? Because I didn't like them either.
Millennials. Yeah. You're looking for people that are basically under 35. Yeah. Those are the people that are buying jerseys still. We don't buy. Mike, when's the last jersey you bought?
I can't tell you the answer to that.
That's the point.
Yeah.
And they're trying to appeal to a group that is actually going to go out there and spend hard money on a jersey.
Because I went and looked at New Era. I get emails from them, and then they said All-Star collection available, and I clicked on the Detroit Tigers All-Star edition of the cap that they had, sold out already.
Yeah.
So
that is a good question. What jerseys have you owned?
Me? I've had throwbacks. I had an Earl Campbell.
Okay. Because I got a Bo Jackson. You
got a Bo Jackson, okay. I mean, you're a Raiders guy. I'm a Houston guy, so Earl Campbell was my guy. Yep. I got a Akeem Olajuwon guy. I got let's see. Those are another Houston guy.
You also you have displays though. Like there's some.
Oh yeah,
you got like
I got them on the wall. Yeah,
yeah. Yours are.
I got a Franco Harris.
Right.
I mean Donovan McNabb, Peyton Manning. Those are my teammates though. These are guys that I have relationships with.
So like if I run into you at the Chandler Fashion Square at the Orange Julius store, you ain't wearing your Franco Harris jersey at the mall, right?
Never. No.
Like, hey,
Deacon Jones. I got a Deacon Jones.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I got a Bo Jackson. I got a Charles Woodson, and that's it. I'm trying to think. Like, what have I owned in my life? Those are the only two that I've owned in my life.
I can tell you mine, and it's few and far between. I've owned a Al Kaline Detroit Tigers jersey.
Wow.
Okay.
I had a Gordie Howe number 9 Red Wings jersey.
Detroit.
I had a Steve Yzerman.
Detroit.
And then Karen, my wife, who's from Southern California and didn't know hockey before she was stuck with me, I got her a Shane Doan jersey. And she's got the old school Coyotes before it was a throwback.
There you go.
The original white Kachina.
Wow.
No, the Robo Dog thing. White, yeah.
Those are dope, though. I like
that's
that
a good look.
That's a real.
And then I got a number 92 Dan Williams.
Wow.
I told him. Remember when I brought this in one time? My daughter had my older daughter had season tickets to the Cardinals, and the renewal package came in, and I brought it to the radio show one day. I said, "Damn!" I said, "He's stretching out your jersey." I hope
the 9-2 looked a little different.
I hope
my
he's
man Dan
a little
Williams.
rounder.
I love Dan, but wow.
I'm only kidding, Dan. If you're listening,
we love you, brother. We love you. I love you dearly. It is what it is.
It is what it is. All right, it's all lead up. On the other side, pump the brakes and dad jokes. You're listening to Train and Grose.
Yep.
That time of the podcast.
Yeah, baby.
We'll start the stopwatch on this.
Let's not.
This is usually where we get the miles.
It's 20 plus.
Gets a little lengthy.
Every week, this segment.
Yeah.
So just if you're joining us now, settle in.
But our listeners enjoy it though.
They do.
Can I tell you this? I don't think I texted you. I think I I don't remember. But my old boss.
Yes.
From the
you
day
texted
job.
me that.
She retired a little bit ago, so we went out to have happy hour in her honor. And she's like, "Mike, how's it going? What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, work is work and work or whatever." And so I said, "But I'm doing the podcast with the guys."
Yeah.
And I played her what you created, Sean Crespin, and she was cracking up.
Which one? The one of the promos?
The new one. I hate the old one.
Yeah.
But then she says, "Oh, that's cool. How do I listen to it?" I said, "Well, I told her." She goes, "I'm going on a trip. I'll listen to it." I'm like, "That's
right.
nice of you to say."
Yeah.
She sent a text. She goes, "Hey, I'm in Colorado, and I listened to the podcast. You guys are great."
There you go.
So that's what we're doing. We're building it one fan at a time.
One brick.
It's organic,
one
brother.
brick by brick.
Organic.
All right, so here we go. You guys know the deal. I'm going to throw out statements to you. You tell me if you're pumping the brakes on it or if you're rolling with it. And
Let's
since
do
we
it.
haven't given our prediction, I'm going to put it in to pump the brakes.
All right.
Because we got dad jokes. That's got to end the show. So we got to get this out of the way. Pump the brakes or not, Suns will be a NBA champion. The Phoenix Suns will be an NBA champion by the next time we record a podcast.
Pump the brakes. I'm not pumping the brakes because I'm saying no. I'm pumping the brakes because there's an if attached to it. If the Suns don't win Game 5 Saturday, they are not winning the championship because they are not, and I repeat, they are not winning in Milwaukee.
Okay?
Milwaukee is going to win that game. So they're either closing Game 6 or they're fighting for their life to force a Game 7 to come back to Phoenix. But they're not winning Game 6 in Milwaukee.
But we typically record on Fridays. Game 7 is next Thursday. So by the next time we record a podcast,
There will be a champion.
There'll be a champion.
Yeah.
So pump the brakes or not, it'll be the Phoenix Suns.
Pump the brakes.
There you go. So you're going Bucks.
Because there's an if. I'm not saying that they won't. I'm just saying that there's an if. If they do this, then yes. If they don't do this, I don't know.
It's a good series, all right? The fact
It's
that
a
we
great
were talking
series.
about that.
It's a great series.
What do you say, Grose? What say you?
I'm with him. I mean,
Oh, you're right. You're walking the fence too.
no,
You're not no
look,
predictions here.
same thing. No, I'm not. I guess I am then, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm not saying like Bertrand. I'm not saying they won't win, but there's a lot of ifs out there.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling bad for two reasons. One, for us, you asked the question, will they win 4 out of 5? And I'm like,
Not a chance.
come on.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I did, and I take sole responsibility, is I put a Twitter poll question out there, and I used
parade.
when
Right.
the Phoenix Suns win the championship. And we had like 40 people vote on it.
Oh.
So that means I might have jinxed this whole thing. I might be responsible
Nah.
for this.
Mike,
And by the way, our listeners agree with you. They're going to the parade,
yeah, they're going to the parade.
wherever it is. So
Yeah.
there's a lot going on, man. You like it because, again, it's 2 out of 3. 2 games are at the Footprint Center.
Yep.
So you got to like that.
Yep.
But, man, Game 7, if you have a game...
I feel-
is there... we talked about this. Not that I want it to happen necessarily, but to have a Game 7...
I think it'd be great.
yeah.
It gives us a nice segue all the way into the
And
start of
training
training camp.
Yeah, it does. Takes us right up to it, as
Yeah.
a matter of fact.
But I'm still standing by the fact that fans need a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
Because especially Cardinal fans, because they're Suns fans too, and they're going to be cheering their heart out all the way up until the very end of this series. So they're going to need however many days they get before they get started.
All right, sticking with the NBA. Today it was announced that the NBA and the NBA PA agreed to play to the play-in tournament format through the 2021-22 season. So the play-in format that we saw this year will return next year. So pump the brakes or not, what does that look?
Are there 82 games?
They're
going from a 72 to 82.
And there will be 82 games.
And then they're adding the play-in.
Yep. So pump the brakes or not
Damn
on the
owners,
play-in
man.
tournament.
Pump the brakes. The fact that they had this situation pop up, and it worked out perfectly because of injuries and because it was a shortened season and,
Yes.
and there were tired legs throughout the NBA. It gave it a little bit of more drama as far as teams that still were in it, because then it's not just the 6 through 7 and 8, but then you got 9 and 10. So you essentially had 6 or 4 more fan bases that would be into it that wouldn't normally be into the end of the season.
Plus some that are just close to getting in. So I mean, you're adding a lot more eyeballs late in the year.
Yeah, that's fine. But if you're going to go back to 82 games, I mean that's just by the time you get to the end of the finals, whoever is the champion, they are done. Like they're more likely to deal with injuries the next year than repeat.
It feels gimmicky. You know, Major League Baseball came out this week and said we're getting rid of the 7-inning game. We're getting rid of the man on second to start things.
No, those are gimmicks.
This is approaching.
This is gimmicky. Yes, it is.
This is approaching gimmicky because, look, and how there's variations.
Money grab.
It's a money grab, but you look at it this time. The East is on a trend where they're the bad conference.
Right.
You know.
I don't know though.
How many?
long
No,
trend.
at the bottom. How many
at the
under
bottom.
500 teams were in the postseason?
Right.
You don't need that.
Yeah.
Like, you got 8 going from each conference as it is right now.
Yeah, we didn't need to see Charlotte.
You don't need to see 9 and 10 in normal times. I agree, B-Train. It was good this year. You cut 10 games off the regular season. You gave maybe somebody would have made up that gap. And so fine, do it this year because it's unique and the money grab. But the owners can't give that up. So there you go. That's why you get the 82 games
Plus
and the play-in. See how did Mark Cuban vote on this? By the way,
Wow.
I need to know.
Well, and listen, it worked for the league this year because you got the Lakers and the Warriors, so you wound up with Steph and LeBron, and you know what I mean. So
but that was
a
because of
draw.
injuries, because the season was short the year before.
And that's what I'm saying. So it worked out for them.
And what
this
you get on
year,
the other side, you got the Wizards and the Hornets.
and that's more likely what you're going to end up with if you continue this for the long run.
No, thank you.
You know, so
Hard pass.
One more. This should be a quick one, I would assume, on basketball here. Team USA hoops losing in the exhibition schedule. Has you worried about their chances to win gold in Tokyo? Pump the brakes or not?
Pump the brakes. The world has caught up to the United States. They haven't caught all the way up to the United States. Instead of getting beat by 50 meters in a 100-meter dash, they're getting beat by 15, 20 yards now. It's still a huge gap. If the United States brought out their top 10 players or top 12 players, and they said, all right, roll out the balls, let's see what happens, it would be more dream teamish than it would be what we're seeing this year. You still got guys that are supposed to go to Tokyo that are still playing in the NBA Finals. You still got 3 players that are supposed to be on that roster. You just had one of the players test positive for COVID, so he can't even go.
Kevin Love is out, and there was one other today, this afternoon, that I'm struggling.
From the Washington Wizards, Bradley Beal.
Yeah,
Bradley Beal tested positive. So look, is anybody are people in Australia afraid of Bradley Beal? No. Are they afraid of Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry, James Harden? Yes. They don't want to see that lineup.
And like you said, the rest of the world's caught up. Think about how many NBA players.
They're catching up.
Well,
They're
catching up. And how many NBA players play elsewhere in the world now too? And then you also have to think these national teams around the world. A lot of times these teams play year-round, whereas Team USA all got to Vegas
like a week ago.
Yeah, and then like you mentioned, there's 3 guys who still aren't even there. So.
I think that mystique factor is slowly but surely
It's starting to
fading
go
away.
away.
To your point, look at most of these rosters of the teams that, if the USA doesn't win the gold, that would be considered favorites to take that place.
Yeah.
They have NBA players, so that mystique is gone. Like it's not back when they put the dream team together. I remember a buddy of mine was a sports information director at UC San Diego. He was sending me pictures, like real pictures back in the day. He's at a Division II school, and he's got the dream team in his damn gym getting ready to go. Like this was like a People magazine, like behind the scenes. It's not like that anymore.
Mike and Sean, just think about it. the dream team was literally once in a lifetime. You're not going to have guys that had already solidified their status as Hall of Famers all on one team. You think about Bird and Magic and Michael and Scotty, all these guys. These guys were already champions. These guys had already punched their ticket to the Hall of Fame. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird had already punched their ticket. They had already had their high moments in the NBA, and they had already started to decline. Magic Johnson wasn't even in the league anymore. Larry Bird barely played because of his back. Right. Now you've got guys in the middle of their careers. You're not quite sure if they're Hall of Famers or not. They're the best players at the time, but we don't know if they're going to be all-time great.
Well, and the other side of it is the mentality in the U.S. is changing too. If you're the Phoenix Suns, you never come out and say this. The way this season for the Suns has played out, do you want Devin Booker on the Olympic team?
No.
If Robert Sarver had his druthers and Devin Booker said, dude, I'm tired, I'm hurt, I'm staying home, nobody in the Phoenix Suns is going to worry about that.
At all.
They'll be secretly, we support Devin Booker will be the statement. Secretly, they'll be like high-fiving each other.
Oh, they be doing the Dougie, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think 2020, 2021, things have changed so much in that regard.
Yeah, and I mean, again, you're just not going to have a situation where you talk about a dream team. It's not going to be that type of situation where some of the all-time top 50 greatest players that could ever play the game are all on one team. Yeah. And the rest of the world is looking at them in awe, like, oh my God, look at these guys. Let me take a picture before you kill me by 50. They don't feel that way anymore. It's not that situation anymore.
So you guys touched on storylines in the NFL going into the 21 season. CBS Sports this week released their rankings of the 8 NFL divisions by quarterback. NFC West is number 1. Pump the brakes or not, the best division in football at the quarterback position is right here in our own backyard.
Pump the brakes. I'm going to go AFC North.
So you got Lamar,
MVP,
Ben,
Super Bowl champion,
Baker,
and Baker won a playoff game.
And who am I missing?
Joe Burrow.
Thank you, Joe Burrow, rookie. Yeah, second year.
Second year, Joe Burrow. Yeah. And we saw what Joe did his rookie year before he got injured. All those guys are all proven. 3 of the 4 have already won a playoff game. So we're talking about a very accomplished group on each team. Now, you go with the NFC West, you've got the San Francisco 49ers.
Who they got listed as their quarterback?
They have Stafford on there. So you got
49ers?
Oh, sorry, 49ers have Jimmy G. And it actually has Jimmy G / Trey Lance listed on here.
One has gone to a Super Bowl, so he's won.
Yep.
Then you've got Russell Wilson, who arguably is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL.
Yep. Matt Stafford,
who's had an up and down. I mean, you know, Mike can tell more about than the 2 of us. And then you've got Kyler Murray, who's won Rookie of the Year, but then after that, it's been a lot of empty calorie stats.
Right. The other side of the coin is like if we look back at this from previous years when Matthew Stafford was in the NFC North, and obviously he was there with Aaron Rodgers, like they weren't, the NFC North was never up there. Like, you know, and so all of a sudden you put Matthew Stafford on the Rams and that bumps him up. Now, I'll take a contrarian view. I won't pump the brakes on this, only from the standpoint of you look at the quarterback play is dictated a lot by the roster around him. And we had this conversation, and I think it's 1 and 2 best quarterback division. Mm-hmm. So they go hand in hand. Sure. Right? So if you're going to say arguably the NFC West is the best division in football, it's not a leap to say it's the best division for quarterbacks. But you look at it individually, and particularly for me in Baltimore, and I don't know, Ben, like I think you're trading on past performance is not indicative.
He's still the quarterback to date. He will still be under center when they kick it off.
Yes.
And he still has the resume. He's still been to 3 Super Bowls, 1, 2.
I struggle with it.
Number 2.
But Joe Burrow, man, like I agree with you. Baker Mayfield, we watched Baker Mayfield grow up last year.
Yes, we did.
I remember you and I were texting during one of their games earlier, and he threw a pick. Somebody got hurt trying to defend the pick. I'm like, damn, Baker, aren't you ever going to learn?
Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh, that's right. It was Odell Beckham Jr. But I'm like, I sent you a text like, will this kid ever learn?
No.
And guess what?
But he did.
At the end of the season, he was a different player.
Yes, he was. And the team was responding differently towards him.
Absolutely.
Second on their list would be the AFC West. So you've got Mahomes.
That's all about Patrick.
Mahomes, Carr, Herbert now. But the Broncos, Paxton Lynch or Teddy
Paxton
Bridgewater.
Lynch is not on the. Come on, stop. It's not Paxton Lynch.
Teddy Bridgewater.
No.
What's
That's all about Patrick Mahomes.
What's the worst division in football?
I'm trying to pull it back up right
Sorry.
now to be honest.
It's like
with you.
I should have like telegraphed that
Yeah.
question to you a little bit more.
That's
But
all
like
right.
I said, while you do that though, like I said, it's not in my mind, it's not a stretch to say if you're telling me, because I don't think any
Worst division in football, I got it here for you. The
I'll go AFC East.
Worst division in football is the
Quarterbacks.
NFC East. They got Prescott, Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, Ryan Fitzpatrick as the worst division. The AFC East is just above them, coming in at number 7 on the list, with Josh Allen, who brings that
All the way up.
average up. But then you got Tua, either Mac Jones or Cam Newton, and then Zach Wilson, a rookie as well. So that to me would be the worst. But Josh Allen is just
I
the way
get
he
it.
played.
I get it.
It's interesting. I love these things too, and it's a good thing we got the Suns still playing because
This is all we'd be talking about.
Instead of pump the brakes, that would have been a whole segment.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
you know,
The AFC North was 3rd on their list. So they had the NFC West, followed by the AFC West, followed by the AFC North.
interesting.
Are we ready to give the kid in Los Angeles that
Herbert,
yeah? Are we really ready to give him that?
I always
Clout.
say I need to see it again in terms of another season now that everybody's got tape on you and so forth. But having watched him twice against my Raiders, kid's pretty solid, man.
I think
he's
I'm not saying he's not solid, but you're talking about best division like overall.
Yeah.
in quarterback
The
play.
AFC North has 3 quarterbacks that have won a playoff game.
Yeah, true. But again, it's winning a playoff game. There can be more to it than that. You know, just getting there. You know,
But what other criteria are we going to talk about? Okay, so then you've got a 2-time Super Bowl champion, you've got an MVP, and you've got a playoff winner. To me, those are all pretty high standards
I'm
as
with you
far
on
as
that.
what quarterbacks are being judged for.
yeah. I mean,
I'm with Sean though. There's a couple young kids. I mean, to your point, they got to do it and
Yeah.
do it again. But you know, can Burrow come back off the knee? You know,
Yeah, he just doesn't have to.
No.
He can't run as much.
But I'm saying, like,
he can do that.
you had to love what you saw out of him early.
Absolutely.
And Justin, but eventually you got to build the resume. I think that's the point you're
I
making.
said Paxton Lynch earlier, didn't I?
Yeah, I'm
mean,
like
Drew-
Paxton Lynch.
Drew-
Are you kidding
Drew
me?
Lock is-
Drew Lock, dude.
Yeah. Why am I?
Because
why did I
Paxton
say
Lynch was the
Paxton
number
Lynch?
1 draft pick,
He was.
and that's why John Elway
was
is
still stuck in my
having
head.
all of those
That's-
issues.
yeah.
That's why
Well, I
John
mean, even
Elway's-
with Drew Lock, I mean, they're
That's why John Elway's going to get a 10% stake to go away.
Right.
wow. How about that?
Okay, one more sports real quick, and then we got to get some pop culture in.
You never drafted John Elway, so that's the problem.
Buy or sell, the home run derby is still the best all-star event in the major 4 sports.
Oh, pump the brakes.
Which one is? It's not the dunk competition
I'm gonna go 3-point contest.
over the home run derby.
Yeah, I'll go 3-point because it's still a pure. It's a pure competition. You can't. There are no. You can't. What's the word? You can't stack the deck. You just got to be able to go out there and hit the shot. And these are supposed to be the top guys based on percentages and all those type of things. You've got however many seconds to put the ball up however many times, and you've got to put it in the hole. It's really as simple as it gets. Home runs, I mean, they can be skewed because you can have your dad out there serving up fat balls that you're just knocking out of the park, depending on the pitcher. I mean, there's a lot of variables, but to me, the purest competition, I got the ball in my hand, I got to put it in the hole within a certain amount of time. The most.
back, and he caught it. No, I'm okay with I like the home run. Watch it, yes. Don't pump. What am I doing? Not pump.
You're pumping the brakes.
It is. Give me the home run derby.
Oh, so give you the home run derby. I take that.
Yeah.
I take that back then.
No, I missed Chris Berman. That was what
Over
I
the
was trying to say.
3-point contest. Because you remember,
Everything you said is right, but it's just
The new format of the home run derby is solid. The 1 versus 1, me versus you.
Yeah.
And it's not you get 10 swings anymore. It's a timed competition.
clock on
Me
'em.
versus you.
Yeah.
I can get
Okay.
some bonus time.
so then give him the
not
same
bad.
pitcher. Give him the same pitcher. Then I'll say, okay, now it's
That'd
completely
be even
even.
better. Get some guy out there that's dealing.
Some dude.
Serving fat balls. If you want to see the ball go out of the park, let the same guy pitch to both guys.
He just
Then
fought
to
that
me
one
it's
under the
even.
chin at 102.
Yeah. Brushing guys back.
You know what I mean? But when your dad's up there serving fat balls, I mean,
That's your pitching coach
All
out
right,
there.
time to get some pop culture. Speaking of fat, it was National French Fry Day.
When?
This past week, Monday.
What?
As a matter of fact, it was.
I didn't know this. Pump the brakes on that.
Pump the brakes or not, because here's the list. I'll give you the list, the top 5, according to a survey that happened on National French Fry Day. McDonald's is 1.
Nope. Pump the brakes.
Chick-fil-A is 2. Five Guys is 3.
Ugh.
Wendy's is 4. And Arby's is 5.
Arby's.
When was the last time anybody went to Arby's?
I mean, they have the meats, but they do not have the fries.
The
What are we
meats,
talking
right,
about?
That's what I'm saying. So I'll pump the brakes.
Pump the brakes on that whole list. To me, 4 out of the 5 don't even deserve to be on
So
it.
where are you going? If you got a French fry craving, where are you going?
But first, I'm going to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah,
I'm with you on Chick-fil-A.
The Chris cut. Is
Yeah.
about-
I mean, I'm with you on that.
Yep.
I will go. I'm gonna go Whataburger. I love Whataburger.
Dude, Whataburger is an underrated place overall. Even their burgers are money.
Yeah, I'm going Whataburger. Now, I grew up on Whataburger, so
with you
you
on
know.
We used to eat at Whataburger.
We did.
After the show on Saturday.
That's right. There was one in the parking lot of the place.
I don't remember the
Show.
fries. My thing with Whataburgers, they put too much mustard on the burgers.
But you can ask for no mustard. You can ask
I
for
know,
whatever
but
you
I'm
want.
just saying, like, I
You
don't.
can't ask for better fries. Either you got it or you don't.
Yeah, man.
I don't know.
Right amount of salt and they're hot. They're always hot and ready.
My thing is my thing is like you can go like McDonald's fries are overrated.
Very overrated.
But the other thing that with McDonald's fries is like you could drive and you get a variation of the world's best fry depending on where you're at, what time of day it is. Like, I don't know.
I'm with you.
Hey, is there anything
Like
better?
sometimes if
I don't
they're
eat anything
soggy-
from McDonald's anymore.
If
so
they're
there's
soggy,
that.
soggy ass fries, man, I got no use for.
Jack,
I have
what about
no-
Jack's curly fries?
Not
bad.
You know what I like at Jack in the Box, and I haven't been there in a minute, but when they mix them up inadvertently, like
Yeah,
if you say give me the curly fry and you got some regular fries
Rogue
in there,
regular one,
or
yeah.
vice versa, where I like when they mix it up.
I'm gonna tell you what. Sonic has some very underrated
They
tater
do.
tots.
Tots.
Tots are money.
Tater tots now.
Yeah.
So if you're
That's
like,
potato, so it counts.
It counts.
yeah,
Tater tots.
I go if I'm at a place that has both,
Tater tots.
I'm
I go
getting
tots.
whatever.
Yeah.
And they say, do you want tots or fries?
Oh, it's
Tots.
tots all
Tots,
day.
10 times out of 10.
There you go.
It's not even a
They're,
question.
they're easier to handle. They go better. They dunk better.
And
They do. They dunk way better.
The preparation is more consistent.
No
Yeah.
doubt.
It's hard to mess up a tater tot.
Hard to. I mean, I've seen them be messed up, but it's hard to do.
It doesn't happen as often.
Yeah, that's right.
But you go to any of these fast food places and you see the fries sitting in the thing with the light on and they've been there for
Wendy's used to be okay, but then when they went to that natural cut or whatever, I mean, they got it's too many bottom of the barrel fries for me. Like
Yeah, too soggy.
Well, it looks like a pencil that's been sharpened too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like this
like
little,
you bite into something, you're like, ow, the top of my mouth, like it hurt.
but they're
and not
too
because
small.
they're hot.
Like you don't get the standard, the long fry like you used to get with Wendy's. Wendy's
Yeah.
used to have pretty good fries, but then when they went to that natural cut and then they started having the potato peel still on it, the way that they're cut, it doesn't.
Where does In-N-Out Burger fit in this equation?
In-N-Out does not fit. They were so greasy. That
Yeah,
is
their
a
fries are
greasy
not
mess.
good.
Well,
man.
here's the thing about that. I was sitting there because they're always
Because the
crowded.
burgers are money.
They're always crowded. And
I don't know why.
and I was watching. There's a dude that works at In-N-Out Burger. His lone job all day long is
cut
to make
fries.
fries. He cuts those fries.
Yep.
He gets a big bucket of potatoes. So you see the fries being made right there in the building. So
They're not
weren't-
great.
They weren't made somewhere else and
I'm
trucked
with you.
in and frozen. And then he's good. And you're like, damn, these are gonna be some good fries,
Nope.
man. You watch him, and you
Nope.
get him, and you're like,
Nope.
"Ew."
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
I agree with you. The burgers are good, but the fries are
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Sonic reigns supreme for me, but the tots.
tot.
Yeah.
The tots.
I think you're right.
So when is National Tater Tot Day?
I don't know.
Get this research crew
Hey,
on that.
All these national days where they recycle all these damn like National Ice Cream Day or National Best Friend Day or National Sibling Day. They have at least 2 of those every year. Can we get tater tots some love?
There's got to be a tater tot day out. I'll look it up. I have 2 quick ones. Usually we do 5. We're going way over today.
That's all right. Let's do it.
Pump the brakes or not on a snickle.
On a what?
A snickle. Now what a
Oh,
snickle?
no, no.
This has become
Pump
a thing.
the brake.
This has become
Pump the brake.
This has become a thing on TikTok and social media. Over 1 billion shares
No.
and views.
No.
A snickle.
No.
Gross is
No.
a pickle cut
No.
in half.
No.
Turn his microphone off.
It's a pickle cut in half with a Snickers put in.
See, you wanted my mic turned down so you can hear that.
No.
That's right. You wanted my mic turned down so you can hear that abomination of food.
No.
That is awful.
And people are loving it right now.
I love both of them individually.
What
Yes.
people?
Together.
I just gave you the statistics on that bad boy.
You told me how many has been viewed on social media. Ugh. Is somebody you know what happened? Somebody at a state fair was
Yep.
messing around, and it was like that Reese's commercial. Your Snicker ran into my pickle. No, your pickle ran into my Snicker, and it fell in the fryer, and they ate it. Ugh.
I mean, look, I don't even need to talk. I'm so done with that. Like I'm so outraged by that, the thought of that. And I love both of them individually. Like I really do. I love pickles.
Yeah.
Give me a deal. I can't watch a movie without one. I cannot watch a movie without a big dill pickle.
Fast fact, Bertrand Berry.
Yeah.
Because that's how we got down in Houston and Texas now.
It's an amazing segue.
You got the big jar of pickles, the big dills, and
Whose mom was responsible for pickle juice?
my mom was responsible for pickle juice, and I used to drink pickle juice before practice.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Cramps are no joke.
I told you that we were at the
That's sodium, man.
volleyball
Sodium is money.
tournament, and Meg's team was playing a team from Texas.
Yeah.
And they had actual
Pickle juice.
Vlasic dill, and
Yeah.
they had the jar. Sean's jar, Bertrand's jar,
That's right.
labeled up.
That's right.
And the Texas girls didn't drink Gatorade.
Nope.
They
Pickle
drank
juice.
pickle juice.
Great for
juice.
hangovers too. No
Maybe
joke.
Maybe they were drinking before the
No
match. I don't know.
10.8 million views of the hashtag
Get it out of here.
Snickle.
Get
This
that
was on
abomination
July
out of
8th.
here.
All right,
I
last
don't even
one.
want to talk about that.
Super quick. You said you can't watch a movie without a pickle.
There you go.
Will you be grabbing a pickle, sitting down, and watching Space Jam 2? Pump the brakes or not?
Pump the brakes.
Not gonna do it, huh?
I hated the first one.
hated the first
I
one?
hated the one. I hated the first one with Michael Jordan.
Hold up.
I hated it. Look, real life and cartoon mix never works.
Roger Rabbit.
Didn't work.
It doesn't work.
It didn't work.
Now he's outraged.
Okay, listen. How many of the regular the characters do you remember? Roger Rabbit was known for Jessica.
Yeah.
And Roger.
And Roger. And they had Yosemite Sam came flying out with his. He was like, my biscuits. are perfect.
Who's the real person you remember?
Well, Roger and Jessica. Yeah.
Jessica Rabbit.
Jessica.
Cartoon mixed with real life movies,
good movie.
they do not work.
Your thoughts?
No.
Gross.
I'm going to share somebody else's thoughts that encapsulated it well for me, and I told my
All right.
my Space Jam story. Our friend Darren Ravel put this out. LeBron put a lot of pressure on himself by redoing Space Jam for two main reasons.
Sure did.
Number one, revisionist history
Yep.
has made the first Space Jam movie much better than it really was.
Awful.
So you're saying it was awful, so people remember it fondly.
No. They just love Mike that much.
The other side of it, the other argument he had is cartoon characters are much more irrelevant now
Now
than
that
they were 25 years ago.
that is a great. That's the biggest point that he made, because I think a lot of those characters that were in Space Jam 1 and now are in Space Jam 2 went away with my generation.
Yeah.
Like, does the generation now even know
The
what
Tasmanian
Saturday morning
Devil?
cartoons are, or the Tasmanian Devil? Yeah.
Pick one. Either give me a all human movie or give me all cartoon. Don't give me that mix and match. No, it never works. Because one, you don't believe that the person is actually talking to a cartoon because they never really make quite the eye contact. Like they try to edit it and splice it to where they're supposed to be looking at each other. You never quite get there.
Yeah.
And the revisionist history part about Space Jam, the original, I remember it, but you can do so many different things now that computer generated, all that. Like, I'll watch it, but you and I have our guide about movies. And if you go home right now,
Yep.
and the original Space Jam is on,
Okay.
are you watching it?
No.
Are you stopping it?
Maybe for a little bit. But
It's
I don't-
mid
I
through-
mean,
it's-
I'm not sticking around.
It's mid-movie. Are you dialing in?
I might leave it on for a second, but it goes to commercial and probably bouncing.
Tweety Bird and Bill Murray dialogue?
I thought Bill Murray was okay in the first.
Love Bill Murray.
Yeah.
Uh,
The golf scene with Bill Murray in the first one. Come on, it's fun.
Bill Murray. Yes.
I'll hit it for you.
Hold up.
The look he's giving.
February 2nd is National Tater Tot Day.
Oh, there you go.
February 2nd.
February 2nd is National Tater Tot
Super
Day.
Bowl.
Wow.
On February 2nd, National Tater Tot Day recognizes a kitchen staple. In the United States, we consume approximately 3.5 billion
Pounds?
of these nuggets per year.
Oh. I thought you were about
$3.5 billion, not enough to buy the Denver Broncos.
Come on, say it.
Wow.
Let's pump the brakes today. All right, it's time.
You know what time
A lot
it
of
is.
build-up on this one. He told us before the show that he was guaranteeing
I guarantee.
a quality review of
Just call me
today's,
Joe Willie. Joe
today's-
Willie of dad jokes.
today's dad jokes. Now, you know how it works. You're going to get this no matter what. Now, if it happens to be a quality dad joke, you get the laughter. If it's above and beyond, one you're going to go home and tell your friends, you get the standing ovation. Now, if it's a terrible dad joke where it's like, come on, man, and it gives the stigma of dad jokes, you're getting hit with one of those.
All right. No pressure.
So, here we
So,
go.
okay, so in times past, do either one of you have a dad joke that you guys want to add to the show?
I do not today.
I am not prepared with a dab joke. The stage is
all-
yours and yours alone.
Stage is all mine? Here we go.
You're a solo act today.
All right, here we go. So I returned my lizard to the pet store, and he wouldn't stop because he wouldn't stop telling dad jokes. The store owner said, "Man, listen, that is not a lizard. It's a stand-up chameleon." Oh no, Mike! Come on, Mike, give it up. You know it was funny.
I'm going with Sean on that one.
And Sean is over here cracking up too.
I'm laughing.
You're cracking up.
Now I'm going with the fact that he hit it and then he jumped so you didn't come over the table after him.
I'm laughing at the situation. I don't think that one landed. I mean, listen, we know each other well enough now we can be real with each other.
That was.
I don't know if that one landed.
The lizard was telling dad jokes.
No,
A
we can't.
stand-up
Stand-up
chameleon.
chameleon.
Come on, man.
Selling it hard, isn't he?
You both are laughing.
I'm
You both are laughing, but you're gonna give me the want. Come on,
I'm
man.
laughing because I love this segment so much. This is the best part of the show. I don't know if that one landed.
What do you mean you don't know if it landed? You laughed.
All right, to put this.
You
one out.
looked at Mike and was like, I want to give it because of how I oversold it.
I
may have oversold it, but it was still a money
Should we
joke.
go to Twitter with this?
I have an idea.
What are we doing?
Let's take it to the public.
Okay.
Let's cut it up, make it its own tweet. We'll tweet it out.
Funny or not?
Funny or not? We will let the public
I'll
decide.
send you a picture of it. That way you can put it. You can put the actual joke out there.
We will. I'll make a graphic and everything.
Dad joke.
I want the video. We'll put the video
We'll
out
use
there.
the video.
We're using video. You're going live.
All right, cool.
We're going to your public.
All right, I'm with it. I stand by my dad joke. I stand by that one. Stand by it.
All right.
That's why I love this.
Get us out of here.
How long have we been doing this segment? It's like 30 minutes.
At this point, we're 35 minutes and 20 seconds into the segment. That is a new
Wow.
show record.
I thought you guys talked about sports.
New show record. We'll
But
block
you got
it.
me fired up talking about the pickles and Snicker, though. I mean, get it.
For me, you know what? There was that, and
Get it
then
out of here.
what he said something else, and there was a little tension. Maybe it was a little tension, maybe a little spillover.
Oh, about the movie being overrated. Hated it. Hated.
So I noticed a little
Space Jam.
tension there towards the end.
Hated. I think that was retaliation for Space Jam. That's what it was.
We'll put it to the public.
Yeah.
Funny or not. Funny or not.
It was fun. You still laughing?
I'm laughing at this.
No, you were laughing.
I'm
at
Switzerland.
yourself.
Let's
You were
come
laughing.
together. Let's come together. Let's bring. Is
Get
it
us out
Switzerland
of
or
here. It's a
Sweden?
40-minute segment.
Check us out on Twitter @TrainingGrose. We'll see you next time.
We'll holla.